What's going on, everyone? This is Zach with StrictlyShisha. I want to talk to you guys about a brand of coals that I've been testing out. And these coals are particularly special because they are designed to perfectly fit your heat management devices like the Lotus. And these coals are by Charco Flare. They're their quarter circle coconut coals that fit very nicely in the Cloud Lotus as I'm using today, or even in the MIG Razor. So I'll show you guys right now. These are uncooked coals. Obviously, I'm not holding cooked coals. They're split into 4 pieces. They're in a circular shape, and these just sit really nicely in the Lotus. In this box, there are 112 pieces. Your standard coal box, I could say, is about 108 pieces if we're comparing to titanium flats. You get 112 pieces in this. But what you have to remember is that you're actually using 4 coals per bowl instead of with titaniums, I typically use 3. So you're using 1 more coal, but you get a few extra. Practically, I get about 28 sessions out of a box like this. I've already gone through most of my box, and since then I've ordered more. So I'm gonna ruin the review right now and tell you guys that I actually really like these coals. But you do have to keep in mind that these are slightly more expensive when you compare it coal for coal. These do retail for about $11.99 from 5starhookah.com. And I actually got these as a promotional item to test out for you guys. But like I said, since then I've already ordered more because I really like these coals. So I judge all coals the same way, and I'm gonna break down that criteria for you guys so you guys can see why I actually like these coals. So the first criteria I have for coals is, do they smell on the burner? And I remember the original Charco flares had a very, very mild smell, but I did smell it when I lit them. These have absolutely no smell on any burner that I've tried indoors or outdoors. So the first criteria, I'm gonna go ahead and give them a check. They did pass on that. The second criteria is, do they taint the flavor of the bowl? I pack a flavor that I wanna pack. I don't wanna taste the coal flavor from that. And that is a really big deal for me. And a big deal for anyone, hopefully, who's using natural coals. That's why we use them. But I've used these obviously in the Lotus, and with the Lotus, you're getting minimal tainting in general because of the Lotus. But when I did test these out on strictly just foil, I tested it out with brands like Tangiers and other brands, there was very, very minimal tainting of the bowl. And I really like that. I like the fact that I'm not actually tasting coals. So in that aspect, we are giving them another check. The next thing I want to talk about is the heat output of these coals. And keep in mind, you do have 4 coals now in there that are covering more surface area on the Lotus. I find that with the 4 quarter circles, it tends to be quite warm. And I can only start a session with the 4 coals if it's a brand like Trifecta, as I'm smoking today, the Dark Leaf brand. It's really, really good. Or a brand like Haze, brands that can really take the heat. But when I'm working with a heat temperamental brand, I tend to start it off with the 3 quarter circles, with the lid off obviously, and add the 4th coal in there when it starts to die down a bit. But like I said, today I am using this with Trifecta. I was able to smoke it with 4 coals right from the beginning with the lid off, and I will probably add the lid on in about 20 minutes when it starts to die down a little bit. I'd say that these 4 coals are lower heat than the original Charco flares, but they are still high heat in comparison because you are using 4 quarter circles. So I'd say these are more warm with 4 quarter circles than if you were just using 3 titanium flats, for example. So just keep that in mind when you guys are using this. You will have to kind of baby it a little bit at the beginning, or just start off with the 3 quarter circles and ease it on as time progresses. Or you can just pack your bowl a little lower to compensate for that additional heat. But I like to keep it the same and just kind of ease on the heat. It gives me a longer session that I actually enjoy. So let's actually segue now into the duration and how long these coals actually last. Practically speaking, I get over an hour using these 4 quarter circle coals. So hard to say that, by the way. Such a tongue twister. So over an hour, and I'll show you guys a progression, 20-minute increments as I'm smoking a session with these. And as you can see, as the session progresses, these coals hold up pretty well over time. And I got to about the hour and 16-minute mark before I actually had to change the coals out and added a little bit additional heat to them. And the next thing, since you can see these pictures right now, as you can notice, even after an hour smoking, and these coals started off pretty large, there's very minimal ash from these, and that is a big deal for me. I'm pretty messy as is. Hookah is a pretty messy hobby. I like the fact that there is no additional ash, or ash even collecting in my Lotus and actually eventually getting into those vents. So I like the fact that there's very minimal ash of these. There's almost an unusual amount of low ash from these, and that is a huge pro for me. So I love that about these coals. The last thing is pretty much overall quality. These things are very good quality. I trust smoking these, and I would choose to buy them again, as I've already done. They are really good coals. The light time is on par with a lot of other coals on the market. Because they are 4 smaller pieces, I found the light time to be less than 10 minutes, and I've timed pretty much every time I put it on the burner for you guys. And less than 10 minutes is pretty good. You don't have to wait, and you get pretty good duration out of these. So overall, the Charco Flare coals are very, very nice, and I can't wait to see other brands actually come out with a design like this. I've heard rumors of other brands doing this, and I don't blame them. The Lotus is such a staple in everyone's session, and just creating cubes to fit in there really nicely is such a genius idea. And like I said, I know other brands are gonna do it. I can't blame them for doing it. It's pretty cool. I wanna talk to you guys real quick about the burner that I use. So I bought this burner from TrifectaTobacco.com. It's pretty much a no-name generic burner, but it's worked really well for me. I've had this burner since November, so we're going right on 4 months, and it works perfectly. I've had burners that have crapped out on me in less than 4 months, and this thing works pretty well. So I just want to tell you guys right now, if you're looking for a new burner, this one from Trifecta.com cost me 20 bucks and works very well so far. As you guys can see, the design here, pretty cool. Very small in here, so this is not something I would suggest if you smoke like 15 coals at one time and you need them all lit at the same time. This is probably for 2 rounds of coals at the same time. It's a very small surface here, you can see in reference to my hand, but I like the fact that there is a high wall around this. I remember one time I was just watching my hot plate and there's a coal sitting on there, and 2 seconds later the coal just fell off and I wasn't even like standing by it. And I'm like, how did that even happen? This protective wall around there will prevent that from happening and burning your carpet unnecessarily. This is a no-name brand. It's made in China, obviously. It's how many watts? 450 watts, and it does not turn off. There's no auto shut-off switch with this. I've left this on for 30 minutes just to test it out for you guys, and it stayed on glowing red hot the whole time. It does not power cycle or get cool. So if that is a concern with you guys with some of your other burners, this burner will not do that. It's affordable. The only downside of this burner is the fact that it smelled awful when I bought it. Right out of the box, it smelled like Indian textiles. And if you guys are Indian and you know what that means, and like your mom's clothes smell because she bought them straight from India, then you know what I mean. That smelled awful. I should leave this out and let it burn by itself and burn off that smell. It does come with these interesting trays. I have no idea what's the point of these trays. These do sit on here, and I guess you could light your coals through there. It's supposed to elongate the actual burner's life, but I took this off and I put the coals directly on here, and it works very, very well. So if you guys are in the market for a new cheap burner, definitely check out Trifecta. I think this is available on Amazon too, but it's a lot more expensive on Amazon. So definitely order from Trifecta. But that's the burner that I use on a daily basis. This burner is probably used 4 times a day now for almost 4 months, and it's still working like a champ. And I'll keep you guys updated if it happens to break or something, so you guys know what I'm working with and you guys can pick up similar items. But thank you guys very much for watching. Check out 5starhookah.com if you want to pick up some Charco Flare quarter circle coals. Bye guys.